Hi everyone, it's Angela here. I know it's been a while since I last recorded a podcast. There's just been there's so many changes in my life in the last 6-7 months. If you haven't seen already on social media and also through my newsletters, I changed gyms in September. So there was the whole thing involved with leaving a gym and then finding a new gym and then adjusting to a new gym, adjusting to training and adjusting to full-time training at that. And then my lease was up in November at my old place, and then I found another place with my partner to be closer to the new gym. So yeah, just been really busy lately. I've had 2 fights since the last time that I recorded a podcast. So had a fight in November on RWS, which was pretty cool. I won by decision. It was an interesting experience. I can go more into that another time. And then last month in February, I fought on One Lumpini. I lost by decision. It was a good fight, and I do think it was bonus worthy, but it's fallen upon deaf ears. So what can we do about that? That being said, I'm not giving excuses as to why I haven't been making content. Just reasons. I am a fighter first, and I've always made that clear that I am a professional fighter first, and my fight career is coming first right now, and it will until I retire from fighting, which might actually be in a few years. But yeah, I'm one person trying to create content, train full time, do my social media and answer questions, emails, send out emails and stuff. So if you're still listening, thank you so much for hanging in there, being really patient. Today's podcast, I want to talk about weight cutting and what the differences are between actually like losing weight. But before we get into that, I want to give a couple more updates. From end of April to end of May, I will be going back to the US for about a month, and I'm going back mostly because my friend from middle school is getting married, which is really cool. And I figured since he's getting married, and my dad's birthday is around the time I arrive, and my mom's birthday is like a month after that, why not stay for a month, and then in between the birthdays and the wedding, I go teach seminars. So basically that's the plan, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I will schedule a newsletter where I announce all the dates and cities I'm going to be in. And if you're interested in attending a seminar or booking a private training session with me, you'll have instructions on how to do that through Instagram and also through my email broadcast. So if you're not already following me on Instagram, it's Angela Sitan, ANGLASITAN. And then if you want to get subscribed to my newsletter updates where I give like weekly tips, and then I give like a 1 month kind of recap kind of thing about my own life, and also some things that I've been listening to, fights that I am looking forward to watching, that happens every month. You can sign up for that on my website, angelamuaythai.com. Okay, so back onto weight cutting. So whenever I do like an AMA, there's always at least 4 or 5 people that ask about cutting weight. And before we get into actually like some of the methods that I use that are scientifically proven to cut weight, I want to get into the difference between what cutting weight and losing actual weight. So a lot of people, when they're in fight camp, when they say like, oh, I have to cut like 10 pounds, oh, I have to cut like 20 pounds, they actually mean that they have 10 or 20 pounds to go before they make their fight weight. And that term probably comes from the bodybuilding community, from when they are cutting for a show and they have like some kind of weight or fat to lose. But I just want to distinguish that as fighters, you're not bodybuilders. So one, let's be a little bit more careful of the language we're using. And 2, do not implement like bodybuilding routines. Maybe week of the fight, you can take some good pointers from bodybuilder diets, but again, we'll get into that later. So losing weight, losing actual weight would be losing things that are hopefully you're planning on keeping them off long term, right? Or that is usually what is meant. So the target would preferably be fat, but in the process of, especially if people lose like a lot of weight, they lose fat, they lose muscle, they lose some water, but the water levels always fluctuate. But when it comes to cutting weight is super temporary. It is not meant to last, and that is really the difference between there. When you're losing weight, most people want that weight loss to stay off, but when you're cutting weight, it is not meant to stay off forever. So cutting weight is really just manipulating your water levels, your glycogen levels, maybe emptying your gut, all of these things during the week of the fight. Reiterating, during the week of the fight, to temporarily get rid of some weight so that you can make the fight weight. And whereas losing actual weight takes months, years to do, and it should be losing actual weight should be done slowly, so you can keep it off, and then cutting weight, it should be done rather quickly over a course of a few days. So I had some screenshots, but this is the only one I can pull up from Instagram, and it says they requested a content topic of easier ways to cut weight. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the obvious. If you don't want to cut a lot of weight, look to lower your walking weight. And obviously that's a lot easier said than done, but I really recommend that if you're really struggling to make weight every single fight, one, either consider going up in weight so you're not killing yourself every fight camp. Because if you can't do this every single fight camp for the rest of your life, just think of it that way. If you can't do something for the rest of your life, there's no longevity in it. If there's no longevity in it and your plan is to keep fighting for as long as you can, then those two things are at a crossroads of each other, and you're gonna have to pick one or the other. Either short-term cutting a lot of weight and not being able to fight as long as you can, or you need to find another way so you can fight for as long as you can. One, go up in weight, or two, find a way to lower your walking weight, right? So a lot of people, when they think about lowering a walking rate, they automatically think that they need to start starving themselves for the rest of their lives. No, again, we're talking about sustainability. If you can't do it every day for the perceivable future, then it's not sustainable, right? So I highly recommend that people work with a nutritionist. This is their specialty. This is their field. If you can somehow get like a combat nutritionist that you really click with, and it's something that you can afford, even better, because they understand the demands of training and making weight, something that normal nutritionists and dietitians don't really know about. And if you can't afford to work with a nutritionist one-on-one, there are plenty of online courses where you can learn about food intake, caloric intake, energy expenditure for free online on YouTube. There are also paid courses, resources online as well, if you want to go that route. And yeah, so definitely take the time to invest in the knowledge of what will be beneficial to you in your fight career. Okay. So so to recap, the obvious thing would be to get your walking weight lower. Now, when we're talking about the fight week itself, right? I've been in Thailand now for 8 years and counting, and when I see Thai people cut weight, and they cut weight like this like their entire fight careers, and I have no idea how they do it. But basically, they're running a sauna suit like twice a day. So let's say that they're at 70 kilos and they need to fight at like 65. So after the morning run, maybe they'll be 68, and then they'll eat and drink water or whatever else until they hit 69. Afternoon, they'll cut again, and then they are 67. They'll eat and drink again until they're 68, so on and so forth over a course of like 3 to 5 days, right? So there's kind of like this yo-yo effect with their weight that goes gradually down, and then the way they see it is like, oh, you're not as tired because you're still eating and drinking, right? But a lot of the things that they are eating and drinking, like I've seen people eat like soup, drink like soup and eat porridge and also like crack open a can of soda. They're just not versed in macronutrients and also other things and how you can manipulate your body, right? So salt holds on to water. You probably heard of like being bloated after you eat like a salty meal or something high sodium. You do need salt as you're training. You need electrolytes as you're training. And then if you are water loading, you still need the electrolytes as well. So do keep that in mind. But so comparing to what I'm saying from like the Thai style cutting, it's very, very counterintuitive when you compare it to the science, right? And there are easier ways that they just don't know about, or maybe they don't want to implement into their own lives. A lot of them are very much like, well, this is how I've been doing it. This is what I was taught. I'm just going to keep doing it because I'm going to stick with what I know. Everyone, each to their own, but I tried Thai cutting style the first like 2-3 years I was in Thailand. And then after, I think one time I almost passed out. And I was like, okay, no more. I can't cut like this anymore. So I started implementing some other techniques. So maybe one of the first techniques I implemented was something called water loading. So when you water load over, you start basically a week before weigh-ins, and you're basically drinking like a lot of water. And so for me, for someone my size, I'll do like 7 liters, 7 liters, 7 liters, 5 liters, down to like 1 liter, and then the day before weigh-ins it will be like half a liter or maybe even 1 liter at times. So then what that does is that it kind of tricks your body in a way to like think, oh, we're still like overhydrated, so it'll keep peeing. When you're not drinking water anymore, you're still peeing, going to the bathroom, which is, you know, a bit of relief. You don't want to try to urinate dust, right? So water loading was one of the first things I implemented. Something to note that when you are water loading, the first few days, your weight is going to shoot up because whatever you put into your body is weight, right? It's not permanent weight, but then like, you know, if let's say I weigh like 54 kilos, right? And then I drink a liter of water. A liter of water is 1 kilo. You drink it and I immediately step on a scale, I'm going to be 55 kilos. So just keep it in mind, like, especially the first few days of water loading, the weight will temporarily go up and then it's going to go back down. Especially if you're still sweating a lot at the gym, it's going to go back down. So one of the things that I do is water loading, and I've been doing that for quite a few years now. And just doing that alone had helped me a lot in terms of just like being able to sweat a lot when I did have to sweat to lose the water weight. And it just also didn't feel as tiring because if you're sweating a lot at one time, it's less effort on you, then you're not going to feel as tired. Like I don't have to keep running or doing whatever to try to sweat the weight off. Like the weight's already off. One thing to note though is that if you before you start water loading, you should go to a doctor and test your kidney function. The nutritionist I work with now, she said that some people that when they don't have good kidneys, they start water loading, their body's not prepared for it, or it's just not right for it, their kidneys like literally explode. So I don't want to scare everyone. It probably doesn't happen that often, but better safe than sorry. Just go get your kidneys and your liver checked. All right, so then on top of water loading, so you're drinking all this water, right? So then during this time, what I do is I also watch my sodium levels. Sodium retains water, so if I'm eating like a lot of sodium, like let's say like movie theater popcorn amounts of sodium, and I'm water loading at the same time, then I'm just gonna hold on to most of that water that I'm drinking, and my weight is just gonna stay up and it's not gonna move when I want to sweat it out. So I do watch my sodium. I am still eating, like having sodium. I'm not cutting it out completely because when you are water loading, you are throwing off the electrolyte balances in your body. So to have the electrolytes and have the sodium in your body is going to prevent a lot of like wonky things from happening because of electrolyte imbalances. Because believe it or not, drinking too much water over a period of like a long period of time can actually make you more dehydrated. It's a little bit crazy, I know, but that's just that's the reality of it. That's that's how our body works. More recently, I would say within the last 3 years, something that I've learned is like gut content. So gut content and also like high caloric intake. Where should I start? So basically, we already distinguished between like fat loss and cutting weight. When you're cutting weight the week of, you're manipulating mostly water, right? So when you want to manipulate, because you're manipulating mostly water, you don't have to necessarily starve yourself in terms of like caloric intake, because at that point you're not really going to lose like any fat. And then if you just starve yourself, you're not going to have anything in the gas tank to finish up fight camp or to go running to get the weight off, and you're just going to feel like absolute crap on top of being dehydrated towards the end of weigh-ins, or towards the end of the weight cut. So be sure that you're still eating like pretty high in calories, like enough to maintain your body weight. And so then now more onto like the macronutrient side of things. What I do is, because I also know that carbohydrates hold on to water, I will lower my carb intake maybe 3 to 4 days before weigh-ins. And then because I'm eating less carbs, there's going to be less glycogen in my body. Less glycogen in my body also means less water in my body. So keep that in mind. The reason why a lot of people, when they go keto or low carb or any of those like low zero carb diets, the reason why they lose a lot of weight at first is because they're getting rid of a lot of the glycogen and water in their body. So they're not leaning up in terms of like losing fat or losing like actual weight. It's just because of the glycogen and the water. So just keep that in mind. So speaking of keto and stuff, you basically kind of want to do something similar to keto, closer, like very, very close to the weight cut, to weigh in. So like just a couple days before. You don't want to cut out carbs too early, otherwise you're gonna feel like crap. Keep in mind that your brain runs on carbs. It doesn't really run on anything else. So if you do cut it out, it's like you're just prolonging your suffering for no reason. Okay, so lowering the carbs, lowering the sodium, I up the fat. So then during weight cut week, I eat like a lot of nut butters, like peanut butter, almond butter, all natural, no salt, no sugar. I found like this chocolate peanut butter that a Thai company makes, and they don't put any salt and sugar in it. And it's just like, it's so heavenly during that time where I'm just like waiting to weigh in. I'm just like, I just kind of need something that has some flavor. So yeah, I do eat a lot of nuts. Avocado has some fiber in it. We'll talk about fiber in a bit, but avocado has some fiber in it. So I do eat avocado the week of weigh-ins, but the closer I get to weigh-ins, I'll replace that with like just nut butter, and also high in protein. So closer to weigh-ins, high fat, high protein, low sodium, low carb. And now let's talk about fiber. So something I've learned about, and it was a very interesting concept to me, is something about like gut content and how like your intestines, your whole digestive system actually holds on to a lot of like residue. And it could be anywhere from like 3 to 5 kilos worth of residue, which I thought was pretty crazy. So doing like a low fiber diet helps to get rid of some of that residue and helps to get rid of some of that weight. The fiber that you have in your body also holds onto water, from what I know. So to sum it up, the closer I get to weigh-ins, low sodium, high fat, low carbs, low fiber. And doing these manipulations during the week of weigh-ins helps me make weight a lot easier, just with some strategic planning, and it helps me feel a lot better too, because I'm not like calorically starving myself. Like I said before, I'm still eating quite a lot in terms of calories. So I am still having the energy to like, talk and do this and do that. And I actually like my last few fight camps, I've had a lot of energy during like my weight cut week, right after I stopped training. And I'm actually like, writing newsletters and catching up on content and calling my friends and stuff like that. And it's really because of this high caloric intake. I used to make the mistake of like during weight cut week, I would After the run, I would drink electrolytes, which are high in sodium, and then I would eat like a lot of vegetables and like a little bit of rice and stuff. I didn't know at the time, and a lot of people just don't know it. So I can't fault myself for I didn't know, but obviously knowing what I know now is that I was just sabotaging myself in terms of like making weight easier. And I used to like I would make the weight, but then it used to be really rough for me, especially like doing the sauna suit runs in the Thai heat. That's probably the reason why I can't sit in saunas anymore. Like I'm a tiny bit traumatized. So yeah, that is one of the ways that you may think are right for you to implement as a way to cut weight. So again, I highly recommend before you do any of these things yourself, make sure that you get your body checked, your internal systems checked by a medical professional. And then if you really don't think that you trust yourself or you have the means to do this by yourself, look into like a nutrition course or even hire a nutritionist to work with you one-on-one. And yeah, it's been my mission, subconsciously been my mission for a while to create like healthier fighters and healthier gym cultures and stuff. And there were just a lot of things that I had to unlearn because I was told bad information when I was new to Muay Thai. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of that just hasn't changed because a lot of people who are in positions of power, they're just repeating what they heard from like the last generation of coaches and so on and so forth. And there's so much that has come in terms of like research and information and social media. One of the best things about social media is that it's just so easy to share good information as well as bad information, but that's where you have to impart a little bit critical thinking to decipher is this good information or bad information. And you can do that by going to Google, type something in, and then see if there's any research papers that kind of back up some certain claim. So yeah, definitely, cutting weight, even if you're cutting the same amount, it can be easier if you make some manipulations in the way you cut and the things you eat or the things that you don't eat. So yeah, I hope this video helps. If you have a topic suggestion for the next podcast, please let me know in the comments, in email, drop me a line on social media. I usually see most things, even if I don't respond. I just have so much going on in my life, and I have like literally like hundreds of messages, so I can't respond to every single person. But if it's something that I think is worth making content on, I will take a screenshot and I'll add it to my like to-do list, and then I'll figure out the best way to kind of present the information. So thanks for tuning in, and then I'll hear from you guys, and then you guys will hear from me next time.